Hi, welcome to Statistics class. So this presentation is our Module 1, Topic 1, Introduction. Here's the contents of our presentation. Origin of statistics. We'll be able to define statistics, why we should study statistics, the role of statistics in scientific research, and we will know some researches in the Bible, what are the types of research today, and categories of statistics. I will ask you, do you believe that our forefathers, our patriarchs, prophets, and some known Bible characters are expert in statistics? And do you believe that there is a research and statistical activity in the Bible times? Okay, so let's discover it. The processing of statistical information has a history that extends back to the beginning of mankind, according to Walpole. In early biblical times, nations compiled statistical data to provide descriptive information relative to all sorts of things such as taxes, wars, remember the Bible, agricultural crops, remember Caleb and Joshua as they checked the agricultural crops of Canaan, and even athletic events. So, let's first define or know the origin of the word statistics. It came from the Latin phrase ratio status, which means study of practical politics or the statement's art. Because in the middle of 18th century, the term statistic was used, a German term defined as the political science of several countries. And from the statistic, it became statistics, defined as a statement and figures and facts of the present condition of the state. So that is the origin or the history of the word statistics. And now, let's define the meaning of statistics. There are two types of meaning of statistics, in a singular sense and in plural sense. In singular sense, statistics as a science, or it's a method of analysis. So as a science like biology, like agriculture as a science. So that is the singular meaning of statistics. And then plural sense, statistics as an actual number, or it is derived from the data. So it would mean, or it is in a plural sense when it talks about a specific number. But if it is as a science, then that is the singular meaning of statistics. Okay. Statistics in singular sense, it is a body of knowledge concerned with the collection, organization, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. As I've said, statistics as a science in a singular sense. And now, statistics in plural sense. It is a collection of facts and figures or processed data. So it talks about a number, a figures, or facts, or data. So aside from finishing our degree, why we should study statistics? You know, a knowledge of statistics is essential for both understanding and conducting research in any professions. For theologians, whenever a new theology, teaching, church programs, activities are developed, made, or introduced, a key question is, does it work? Is it biblically based? Is it biblically sound? So remember the Biblical Research Institute. So they are also doing this research, and this statistics and research comes together. And these statistics are used to analyze the data and help you decide if the new idea is worthy of being incorporated into our professional, in our church, in our spiritual or daily life. That's why we need to study it. Not just for theology, but also most especially in agriculture. Is this crop more productive? Or is this fertilizer is more good than the other? Or for biology, this genetic makeup is good or this or anything. So we need to study these statistics in order for us to know if the thing that we're introducing is really working than the traditional one. Okay. So, what is the role of statistics in research? As I've mentioned, research and statistics always comes together. So, the role of statistics is it is a toolkit for research worker in the planning, analyzing, and interpreting the results of his investigations using methods or techniques that have been proven useful in many fields of inquiry for a certain research type, for a certain problem that you are looking for, that you are asking and searching for, there will be a corresponding appropriate statistical tool. So these statistics, you need to know this, you have to study it because in every problem, there is appropriate tools for that. And so in research work, there is an appropriate statistical tool as well. So that is the role of statistics in research. Now, let's define research. You may be curious, what is this research? So it is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. It is a collection of methods and methodologies that researchers apply systematically to produce scientifically based knowledge. So I believe that before you graduate, you have to do your research. And what is this scientific research? It is a methodical study in order to prove a hypothesis or answer a specific question. And it provides scientific information and theories for the explanation of the nature and the properties of the world. Through this scientific research, we are able to explain some phenomena under the earth. Okay. So what is the role of statistics in decision making? Statistics provides tools, as I've mentioned earlier. Using our past experiences as data, we can have better choices, not just today, but also in the future. So statistics, it provides tools in analyzing your data. And statistics can also help us answer questions like what options to use? How do we make choices? Why chooses such option? So especially in experimental researches, what choice should I choose? What design? Is it um, RCBD? It is complete, completely randomized design. So in the next topic, you'll be able to know what I'm talking about. But these statistics can help us answer questions like that. How do we make choices? What is the better options? Because knowing, especially if we have the previous data, knowing the previous experiences from others, it also helps us in our decision making. And the very thing that and the thing that we are gathering data from others is already a research activity or statistics because you've gathered some data. The data that you have gathered is already statistics. So it helps us in our decision making. So before we go to research in the Bible, let's review some terms. Observational units and experimental units. Usually, this experimental units is really relevant or rampant for biology and for agriculture or for any sciences that usually has this experiment. And observational units is usually for the social sciences. So observational units, these are the units that are observed in the normal environment that they exist, just like people. So you just have to observe. So you call them observational units. And experimental units, units are observed in an environment that is highly controlled by the researcher. In other words, researcher has the complete control or a control over the units, the sampling units or the experimental units. Okay, so I guess you've understood it. So let's go to research in the Bible because we know that anything that we learn must bring us to the Bible, would help us discover what are its contribution not only in my academic but also in our spiritual walks or spiritual journey or in our spiritual knowledge or in our biblical knowledge. So let's discover some research in the Bible. So according to 1 Corinthians 2:10, these things God has revealed to us through the Spirit, for the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. So the Spirit searches everything. How about you? Do you search things out or not? Now, according to Job, I was a father to the needy, and I searched out the cause of him whom I did not know. Do you also search about the life of other people? Do you have an information about other people of how you could be a help to them? Or you just don't know who they are? We are just so, we don't care about people. So Job reminded us to search the cause of him whom I did not know. And he was a father to the needy. That is also a research in the Bible. Now, according to David, I consider the days of old, the years long ago. I said, let me remember my song in the night. Let me meditate in my heart. Then my spirit made a diligent search. Will the Lord spurn forever and never again be favorable? So, do you diligently search your heart or just let it be? So, let's continue. Solomon, it is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out, according to Proverbs 25, verse 2. So, do you search things out or we just accept everything that is being practiced by everyone, that is done by everybody, that is normal, that is the trend, or do you search things out on your own? So, Solomon reminded us to search things out. Now, according to Solomon again, Ecclesiastes 7 verse 25, I turned my heart to know and to search out and to seek wisdom and the scheme of things and to know the wickedness of folly and the foolishness that is madness. So do you search things out and seek wisdom? So it's also a reminder for us to do research, to search things out, to diligently search for something. And from the prophets in 1 Peter 1 verse 10, concerning this salvation, the prophets who prophesied about the grace that was to be yours searched and inquired carefully. So do you search and inquire carefully? Or whatever your teachers have spoken, have told you, have taught you, that would be the rule already, or just follow it blindly. So remember to search and inquire carefully. And that is an attitude that we should have to do our personal searching and inquiry. And also in Daniel 8, verse 14. And he said to me, for 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary shall be restored to its rightful state. Daniel did research. Because in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, observed, remember this, observed in the books the number of the years which was revealed as the word of the Lord to Jeremiah the prophet for the completion of the desolations of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. And it is the fruit of diligent searching, observation, a study. So it's an inspiration for us to do our personal research, not just in academic, but also in dealing with our spiritual things in life. And also from the contemporary Christians in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, but examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is good. So anything we should examine carefully. Is that good or bad? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? Is it good for everyone? So let's examine everything with God's Spirit. And now, from the believers in Berea, Acts 17 verse 11. Now the Berean Jews were of more noble character than those in Thessalonica, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined, remember this, examined the scriptures every day to see if what Paul said was true. That's how important examining the scripture is. Is it true? Is it not biblically based? Is it right? Is it noble? Is it lovely? Is it so? Let's examine everything in the scriptures. And it's an encouragement for us to do research. And research, remember, and statistics comes together. So you cannot say studying this subject is not important. You cannot say that studying this subject will not do anything good to you, because it helps us to have that skills in doing our personal search, examining things, observing things. So let's go to types of research. We have the basic, the applied, the quantitative, the qualitative, the longitudinal. Usually it takes years. And then descriptive, which is usually in the Bible, or and then classification or categorization, comparative, exploratory, explanatory, causal, theory testing, theory building, and action research. So, what are these research methods? You have observational, I've mentioned this before. Units are observed in the normal environment that they exist, and experimental units are observed in an environment that is highly controlled by the researcher, if that is your method. So what is our research design? I will discuss to you the basic research design: historical, descriptive, quasi or mixed, experimental, and then qualitative. What is this historical approach? So the purpose is to collect, verify, synthesize evidence to establish facts that defend or refute your hypothesis. Sources must be both authentic and valid. This is really prevalent or usually used in, especially in some history books, in some uh, archaeological facts. So they are doing some historical research. Okay. So, for example, let's go on to the Bible. According to John Wesley Taylor from IAS, the Gospel of Luke and the Gospel of Acts seem to have been the result of historical inquiry. Why? So, you discover it yourself. And then written by the physician Luke to most excellent Theophilos. So this Gospel of Luke and Acts, they seem to have been the result of historical searching. And many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitness. So history, they've asked some questions from the primary sources of data or this personal eyewitness to some accounts. And then, according to Luke 1, and with this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything, carefully, remember this, carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. So, an orderly account. So, it's an historical approach. Now, while Solomon had wide-ranging interests, plant life, from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls, animals and birds, reptiles and fish, a portion of his 3,000 proverbs may have resulted from historical research. So, according, you may read it why in 1 Kings 4:32 to 33, according to Dr. Taylor. So, this, but anyway, it will be discussed to you further with your research teachers. So, let's go on to descriptive approach. It provides answers to the questions of who, what, when, where, and how associated with a particular research problem. It cannot, remember, it cannot conclusively ascertain answers to why. It just simply describes who, what, when, and where, because a it is a descriptive approach. So, for example, in Numbers 13:17 to 20, go up through the Negev and on the hill country. See what the land is like. What? So, descriptive approach. What is the land is like? See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What? Again, descriptive approach. What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not? So they are just like agriculturists and they are doing also soil analysis. And also they are just like biologists to describe something. So do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land. It was the season for the first ripe grapes. So according to Numbers 13:18 to 20. So it is an example in the Bible of a descriptive approach. see what the land is like. Is it good or bad? Is it fertile or soil? So that's an example of descriptive approach. So I believe you get it. So what is this quasi-experimental approach? So quasi, they sometimes call it mixed method. It is a form of experimental research used extensively in the social sciences and psychology, and also in some biological researches and agricultural researches. They also do this quasi-experimental approach. It involves selecting groups upon which a variable is tested without any random pre-selection process, because one of the principles of experimental research or experimental design is randomization, meaning your sampling unit where you want to put your treatments, you did not choose them purposively, but you do some randomization process. Say, for example, you do the lottery, like you got the random numbers. So in quasi-experimental, you just group them, but you did not have this randomization process. It is not you who decide who will receive this treatment or who will decide this other treatment. So that is the quasi-experimental approach. You do something, you experiment something, but you did not choose randomly your samples. That's why it is called quasi-experimental approach. Okay. For example, in Daniel 1:12 to 13, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then, see here, compare. This will be our uh, dependent variable according to statistics. Compare our appearance. This is the result, would be the dependent variable, the appearance, with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So this servant did not randomly choose that this Daniel and his friends will receive this kind of treatment. They will eat the king's food, whereas in these some groups they will eat the vegetables. No, uh, the randomization process is they already decided, like they already have a group. Like you cannot change the lifestyle of Daniel and his friends, so let it be. So that is the quasi-experimental approach. So half or mix, it is similar to experimental approach. However, the absent is the randomization process in terms of selecting your samples or the units that will receive your treatment. So that is an example in the Bible of the quasi-experimental approach. Okay. Now, let's go to qualitative approach. It is employed to answer the whys and hows of human behavior. So if descriptive would only answer what, where, WH question, this qualitative would answer why and hows of human behavior, opinion, and experience, information that is difficult to obtain through more quantitatively oriented methods of data collection. So it is more on feelings, human behavior, personal opinion. So it is the why and how. It is all about human behavior. So it is so subjective. So this is the qualitative approach, but it doesn't mean that this type of approach is wrong. There are just some questions or research questions that could be answered by qualitative approach, especially in your interview, the case study for rape victims, the case study for the life experiences of pastor's kid. So you can do this qualitative approach. Like also for the demographic profile for the people in a community. So you can also use this qualitative approach. Now, let's get some example from the Bible. Cases of direct observation. Peter and John's examination of the tomb where Jesus had been buried, John 21-8, and Gideon's observation of the wet and dry fleece, and Nehemiah's nocturnal inspection of the ruins of Jerusalem through which he corroborated interview data. He just asked why and how. So it is a qualitative approach. So I guess that's all for today. And congratulations. And let's go to topic 2. God bless you.